If you're considering a career in software engineering, I recommend checking out Sabio, a coding bootcamp and developer community that's trained veterans since 2013. In just 17 weeks of remote learning, you'll graduate ready to start a real high-paying job. Sabio alumni are working at companies like Google, Amazon, and Microsoft. Sabio can kickstart your career in tech today. Visit sabio.la/military to learn how you can use your VA benefits to enroll. That's sabio.la/military. Check the show notes for the link. I'm Rod Rodriguez.
I'm Jack Murphy.
This is Military Matters. I hate cold weather. Snow, ice, blizzards, not for me. Now, I've always wanted to live somewhere that was warm all year round, a place where I could enjoy Christmas on the beach. So when the opportunity to make that happen presented itself, I took it. So about 2 years ago, I moved my family from Herndon, Virginia to Tampa, Florida. And I've got to say, Tampa lived up to everything I'd been hoping for in Florida weather. It was almost always sunny, warm, and last year I celebrated Christmas with my family on paddleboards, margarita in hand. Last year, we also had our first hurricane experience. It was a Cat 1 that barely scraped us along the western coast of the Florida Peninsula, and according to my native Floridian buddy Sal, that wasn't a hurricane. That was just a storm. But it certainly didn't stop anyone from having hurricane parties, and for all intents and purposes, just having fun while a nasty storm dumped some water, bent some trees, and the next morning, all you had to deal with was cleaning up palm leaves and bark off your front lawn. But last month, we were all keeping an eye on a tropical storm that was gaining more and more strength just off the coast of Cuba. This, according to my Florida native friends, was shaping up to be a real hurricane, and one of the nasty, slow variety. You see, I didn't know much about hurricanes or how they worked, but one thing came through loud and clear, and it was that slow was bad. And I'm not talking about the wind speed, I'm talking about the speed at which the hurricane itself moves. Ian was moving like Michael Myers from the Halloween horror movies, slowly creeping along and destroying everything in its path. No one was planning hurricane parties for this one. If you live anywhere near hurricane zones, you're well familiar with spaghetti models. They're projections made by weather services to predict the path of weather systems. Each service's predicted path is represented by a wobbly line, and when all those lines are placed on a map, you get what looks like spaghetti thrown against the wall, except that this spaghetti is telling you a story of who lives and who doesn't. As Ian crept up closer and closer to Florida, it looked, for a while, like the spaghetti models were predicting Tampa was going to be hit by a Cat 3 or even a Cat 4 hurricane. In the days preceding Ian's anticipated landfall, Tampa residents began preparing for the worst. Lowe's and Home Depot were selling out of plywood, sandbags, and water barriers. The mayor of Tampa and the governor of Florida were announcing states of emergency, and MacDill Air Force Base began the process of shutting down and evacuating its service members. The city was preparing for what many predicted would be the worst hurricane to hit Tampa in over 100 years, with projected damage to be in the catastrophic levels. But then something interesting happened with Ian, an example that Mother Nature always has a plan of her own. Instead of moving north then east into Tampa, Ian took a harder right and set its eyes on the areas south of Tampa, mainly Fort Myers and the Sarasota area. In fact, the move of the hurricane was so abrupt that those folks in the hardest hit areas only had a day or two to prepare because up to that point, they hadn't been in the storm's path. As we all followed along with the news, we saw terrible flooding, horrific winds, and all of us, north of the eye, could only watch helplessly as our friends, family, and neighbors south of us, only an hour or so away, were mercilessly beaten by this hurricane. After a day or so of wind and rain, the hurricane continued its path across Florida, greatly weakened but still deadly. That's when we all began to get an idea of the damage that was done and the lives that were lost. This is where the story really begins for this episode, right after the hurricane had struck, and we were all trying to figure out what had just happened and what the situation looked like. Thousands of Floridians were without power, drinkable water, people were missing, and the news was filled with images of people up to their waists in water inside of what used to be their homes. Like almost everyone else, I sat on the sidelines feeling more than a little helpless. A few days passed by, everyone in Tampa was breathing a sigh of relief that it wasn't them, but we were all just as concerned about the people that had been hit the hardest. That's when I started to see posts from my gym buddy Ryan, asking for donations of food, water, and gasoline that he was putting together to have taken down to those spots that had been hit the hardest. Honestly, I didn't know Ryan that well, apart from training with him at Gracie Trinity Jiu-Jitsu, where he would roll me up like a ball once or twice a week. I asked him if he was part of a disaster relief organization or something like that, to which he responded no, he wasn't, but that if we didn't do something now, it wasn't going to be done in time. So him and his neighbor Matt had made the decision to do something about helping those people right now. Then he asked me if I wanted to come down to Inglewood, a town in Sarasota County that had been devastated by Ian, to hand out supplies. I figured this would be an opportunity to help and maybe capture some of the stories from veterans or service members that had been affected by the storm. What you're about to hear are voices of survivors. Ryan and I spent the day in Inglewood handing out fuel for generators, food, water, and air mattresses. Not everyone we spoke with were veterans. Some were just people trying to make sense of what happened. In fact, the common thread among everyone that we talked to was a sense of shock. Everyone we spoke to, when asked about how things were going, had a look about them like World War I soldiers who were shell-shocked, just trying to make sense of what was happening in real time. At first, I was a little worried that folks wouldn't want to talk with us, or it might be tough to find a veteran. But as we would find out after the first interview, it was like the story wanted to be told, because the first person we talked to was a veteran. He was standing outside what looked like the remnants of a home. To me, it looked more like a home that had been just bombed. It exploded. There were parts of it everywhere. There were pieces of it everywhere, and in some spots, all you saw was a concrete slab. So we stopped, we got out of the truck, and approached him and asked him for an interview.
Yeah, thank you.
How are you, sir? So, like I said, my name is Rod. This is Ryan.
How are you, sir?
Ryan, nice to meet you.
We're both military veterans, and I'm actually doing a story for Stars and Stripes. I think you probably heard that publication before.
Yeah.
So we're doing a story on how this hurricane has affected some of our veterans and service members that are out
Sure.
here. So,
Sure.
if you could tell me what your name and your service, and then we'll kind of take it from there.
Sure. My name is Alan Foss. I served in the Army from 67 through 70. I was in the Signal Corps, and I did a year in Vietnam with the 362nd Signal Company. Came back and did 9 months teaching basic math and electronics at Aberdeen Proving Grounds. Got an early discharge because I was eager to get out. Anyway, now I had intended to move here to Florida permanently, and 99% of my belongings were here, and now you can see what's left. I'm not sure what I'm going to do at this point. A lot of turmoil in my life, and it's just a real struggle.
Kind of tell me, what was your first impression? What was what?
It's like, holy shit, where do I start? And what do I want to get? There's, excuse me, there's things in there that are important to me. So I'll grab those things. And,
how do you prioritize?
I don't know. I don't know. I was so looking forward to being down here, and it's like, I'm sorry.
No, you're okay.
No, I pulled some stuff out of the rubble here, and you know, I had everything. I was a carpenter, not a carpenter, but a cabinet maker, furniture maker. For 20 years, I built airplanes, and I had every tool that I needed to build it. It's all gone, for the most part. You know, a small table saw, hobby saw. You know, well, you can see there's the remains of 3 airplanes over here. You know, they're destroyed. There's 1, 2, 3 airplanes, and there's some in the house. I don't think there's any damage to the ones in the house, but you know, do I have the time to deal with them? I just, so they're trash. You know, I found this house back in 19, and I love it because I'm a birder, and this lot corners on the lake, so I don't pay any taxes on the house based on the fact that I don't have water frontage. So it was an ideal situation for me. You know, some of the stuff I can salvage it, but as I said to Kevin, what the hell am I going to do with it? You know, where do I take it to store it? Or, you know, I got 2 kayaks here. It's like, what the hell am I going to do with them? I'd keep the small one. The big one I was trying to sell. But, no, it just, I didn't need this on top of my problems up north. There are days I say to myself, you know, Alan, maybe it's time you say, frigate, check out.
So this is our first encounter with a veteran who obviously suffered a tremendous loss here. You know, this is your first time down since this whole thing happened. You've made your efforts. What's your feeling right now? Where were you feeling listening to Alan's story?
Well, I totally forgot about what we were doing and what we're trying to do, but it's just desperation. He's desperate, like a lot of other people, a lot of veterans, a lot of non-veterans in this area, and it's horrible. I didn't expect emotionally to be like the first person we talked to. A horror story. His life is ruined now, or so he sees it. Tried to encourage him, but what am I going to say? You know, I'm in a great situation, and he's lived his whole life and finally come here to where he wanted to escape to, and this was his escape, and he has no hope. There's no hope in his voice. I relate to the things, the lathes, and he was a machinist. That's my world. And the things that he made with those machines were inside that house. And not only are some of them destroyed, most of them you can't find them. They're gone. And to a machinist that is a craftsman and takes pride in things like that, that's your everything. That's what you worked your whole career for. And then he came down here to live the life that he always wanted to live after all these years of working hard. And then this, it's horrible. And when he said that maybe it's time to check out, I immediately empathized and put myself in that position, and I said nothing because, man, I might be thinking the same thing.
My name is Matt Ryan. I have always been a huge fan of the military. I would have went into the military if I could have passed the ASVAB, but being dyslexic, didn't score too high on it. So, which I always thought was BS, but whatever. But always been a big fan of the military. A lot of families, military, ex-military, still in the military. So,
my name is Ryan Hans. I was in the Air Force from 90 to 94, Gulf War veteran era. I've been involved with the military ever since, I think, and my father and my grandfathers, both grandfathers and uncles have all served. But still to this day, I'm tightly involved with military personnel. I work for Lockheed Martin. I have for a long time, and I don't see myself ever straying far away from military personnel. There's a good bit of support. I always try to support them, and I appreciate what they're doing because that's where I came from.
So Ryan, you and I started talking a little bit about the relief efforts that you and Matt were trying to put together. Can you guys tell me a little bit about how this relationship started, or at least how this began, this whole process?
Well, it started with Matt, and he can explain that, but I evacuated with my family and grandma and the dog, and we took off when it was going to be over a Category 3. That's usually my indicator of I need to leave because I live close to the coast. But it started when it was just in a wreck, wondering about my house and wondering about my friends and stuff. And when I got back, I saw that Matt had already started, him and his family had already started like gathering things and going to help people, because where it actually hit, he has great interest. His family has his property, and he has a lot of friends in the area in Inglewood. And I saw that, and I was kind of just sitting around, and I couldn't stand it, so I decided I wanted to help. So I put some things on social media, and immediately people started just giving and giving, from cash to fuel to all over the country. People were just like, hey, how can I help? What can I give you? And then from there, Matt and his family took it and started an Amazon link. And Matt, I'd like for you to explain how you started with all this and where it started and where you're going with it.
The morning of the storm, I had woken up out of a dead sleep and happened to check the track to see, where we were at that point. And at that moment, I was like, holy shit, it's going to be a Cat 3 right over Arcadia. And my mother-in-law lives in Arcadia on a farm. And we kept calling her and calling her and calling her until she answered. And I was like, you need to get your shit and you need to get the hell out, like, now. And she's like, well, I think we're going to ride it out. I'm like, no, this is the real deal storm. It's moving slow. It's going to pound your area for a long time. Like, you need to get out. So she got up to our house at like 6:45, 7 o'clock that morning. And we rode the storm out at our house. Well, during the night, an alert went off for a severe flash flood emergency, and her area was in it. And I looked at Angela, and I'm like, we need to get going first thing in the morning. The winds will be down. I looked, checked the radar, everything. I made some calls, got a boat that I could get, and we were on the road, and the sun was not even up yet. And we worked our way to Arcadia, did like 3 river crossings to get there, and assisted with the fire and rescue in DeSoto County. And we pulled almost 120 people out of their houses that were flooded. I took a family that was on a roof since 4 o'clock in the morning. There was 3 of them and their 2 dogs, and drove right up to their house and got them off there, got them back to safety. My wife was taking her car and running the people. As soon as we get them, the EMTs would check them out. She was bringing them to Arcadia, or she was bringing them to Bradenton, somewhere where they had family. And then from there, we made it to here, and we woke up. We got here at night in Inglewood. We have a house here. Couldn't tell really what the damage was until the next morning, and I was like, whoa, like, this is serious. I called my family, like, we're going to have to do some serious help here. This place is not going to be back for years to come. So my family's huge. It's deep, and we're close with everybody. So we started making phone calls. My sister lives in Washington State, and she's like, I'm coming down to help. And I said, well, I don't think it's necessary. Let's come up with an idea where we can impact as many people as possible without killing ourselves, because we all have normal lives that we still got to try to lead, meanwhile try to help people. So she came up with the Amazon store. She got it set up. We posted on social media, and it's been mind-blowing. The amount of support from all over the country. Friends of friends of friends of friends, people are donating, and it's incredible. It just shows that there's good people out there still.
Can you tell me what this Amazon store is?
So basically what we did is we made some phone calls to friends in this area and was like, what's the word? What do people need? What do they need the most? So my sister then created basically like a registry, like if you would for a wedding, but you could get multiple. So she set it up as like an Inglewood Relief Fund thing. And every day we update it with new things that are more important than there were in the beginning. And like every day the Amazon truck comes and I'm like, just back it up to the garage, because it's like there's no need to carry that many boxes. So it's incredible. Last night we had some people over. We took these canvas like tarp bags that are more or less made for like moving, and we set up like kits. So we kind of put batteries in there and bleach and, you know, cleaning supplies and food and water and Gatorades and all that stuff. So that way we got in touch with the Chamber of Commerce in Inglewood. We're going to donate it all to them. They have all the connections to disperse it directly into the community. It doesn't get lost in hands and, you know, go down the wrong path. People are donating generators, extension cords, fuel. Like right now I have 90 gallons of fuel in my truck to give out to people that are running generators. It gives you goosebumps just to see the amount of support that's out there and how many people want to help, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I'd like to add, initially we just kind of like went with it, and Matt knew that he needed help, and we didn't worry about any kind of the money, although it was in the back of my mind. I was shelling out all this money, but that was the last thing we were thinking about at the time. But all of that money has come back in, plus like literally like hundreds and hundreds and thousands. There's been thousands of dollars that have come in from people just generously just giving, because they know this. A lot of it goes back to what you said, Matt. This could have been us, and people think we're not the only ones that think that. So not only are people being generous, they're thankful that this didn't happen to them, and they want to help the people that it did happen to, so they can restore their lives and get back to where we still are. So it started out with worrying a little bit about, am I putting too much? I have my family too. And then it just quickly turned into, no, our community is going to take care of this. The community is going to give money. The community is going to bring the gas cans and the food and everything. And it was really awesome.
Part of this is to cover the story. Can I get your names really quick?
Sure.
Mike Gregory.
Tammy Gregory.
So we're trying to help people out. I mean, the first 2 or 3 days we have people walking by. You hungry? You know, you thirsty? We have, you know, so.
What's one of your biggest concerns right now?
What's next? What are we going to do? So, I mean, we're hooked up through FEMA, but unfortunately the trailer's so old, you know, we're uninsured. So, I don't know, you know. And it will be a total loss. I mean, the whole thing shifted about 2 inches off the foundation, and we rode it out. We were inside.
When I tell you it was going like this, house was lifting.
Oh yeah, it was lifting. We had our
motorcycle helmets on. We had our muckers on. We had mattresses over us.
We got 5 dogs. Everybody survived.
We're alive, and we have our fur babies. And
so I want to understand this correctly. You two were in this
trailer
home,
yes,
with your motorcycle helmets on.
Yes.
Yes.
Because that's the level of fear that like this was bad.
I've never been. I'm born and raised here in Florida. Sarasota is my hometown, and I have been through many, many, many storms. I have never been as terrified. Is the only correct word I was terrified. Terrified. I thought we were done.
She asked me, "Are you scared?" And I said, "I'm not scared. I'm worried." I was worried about getting her and our dogs out if I had to do it, but I would have done it, you know. So it was nuts. It was nuts. And next time, I don't care if they replace us with the biggest, baddest, hurricane-proof trailer. When they say to get out, we're out of here. We got some property up in Georgia, and that's probably where we'll head. So.
Well, Mom does, but.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys need it, we have a couple. So we have some supplies out here. I know that you guys are looking good.
We're good.
Oh, yeah.
I
was telling
some friends of ours.
She can fill you in.
You know, we're
going to do our own.
We're going to do our own.
Yeah, we have our bed.
It's water soaked, but we're sleeping on it.
I want a brand new, really nice air mattress.
That would be amazing.
Got it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's nothing.
Wow.
Somebody donated.
No, thank you so much.
It's been a very, very humbling experience.
Very humbling.
Very humbling. You know, so. And like I said, we fared, better than most, but, you can see the whole neighborhood's going to get bulldozed. You know it will be, All these trailers are so old that, so we're just waiting to see what's next.
The morning of course, we're walking down the street and we were just in shock. And power lines are down, and I told him, I'm like, this, I don't even think, and the winds were whipping, and the aluminum flying, this isn't safe. And then it sank in. I said, Mike, we need to go trailer to trailer to trailer, make sure nobody's in there. So that was our next.
Yeah, we did.
We walked the streets and just, and anybody in there, there was, of course, some people that stayed, and then they would say, no one's there, because neighbors know, they're direct neighbors. But thank God we didn't find anybody injured or dead. That was my fear. Because there's a lot of elderly in this neighborhood. This poor lady across the street, thankfully her son and daughter-in-law and other daughter were here, but they were in that.
People were in that?
They were in that.
They didn't have the camper here before.
No, they did.
Oh, they
that
did.
camper, and then the house behind it, that's what's crazy. Because all of our damage is on the back and in the side. Of course, like I said, our walls, the walls in the house are starting to, they're wet, moldy. I know there's black mold already setting in. I know there is.
But they saw a crack in the ceiling. And
Beth, who has Alzheimer's.
Yeah, Alzheimer's and both dementia. And she saw it, pointed it out. They all got up, and they had a couple other cars there. They all went to the cars.
Well, they went to the garage first,
Yeah,
and then they realized the roof was gone on the garage.
Yeah.
And then they rode it out in their cars.
Scary ride. The thing is, the house is destroyed, and the house behind it is destroyed. Their camper. Minimal damage.
Can I tell you how intense the winds were? Because their camper, they've got a hydraulic slide. The winds were so intense that it slammed the slide out.
A hydraulic.
A hydraulic slide slammed it back in.
A lot of power right there.
Just to give you an idea of what the winds were like here.
We were in the eye wall for 6 to 8 hours, they were saying. It was crazy.
So you were in this for 8 hours?
Oh, yeah.
Longer than that, honestly. That was the worst part of it.
I kept rubbing the wall saying, old girl, you've been here and been through many storms.
Please.
Get us through one more.
I can't tell you how many, I believe in God, but he was talked to many times. Any angels, I talked to them all. Please. Because the only thing I thought about were my kids and my grandkids. That's the only thing that went through my mind. Was my babies and my grandbabies.
And this time next year, this was all going to be paid for. We were on the verge of everything was going to be paid off. And
it'll still get paid off.
It'll still get paid off, but
no Ian's going to scare me away.
That's right.
It took a lot from me, but.
And can I tell you, since you guys are military, when they came down the street with their tank and they were passing out stuff, so proud to be an American. Yesterday morning we came out and there was a bald eagle flying over our neighborhood, and I was like, if that's not a symbol right there, strong,
So the National Guard came through here?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they passed out MREs and water and ice, right? Yeah, so we've got a couple cases of those that we're going to distribute as well with our own little personal drive we're trying to do for our direct immediate area, because as I said, there's, we've got a couple rooms to live in.
We have a drive going on through Amazon. People are sending stuff from all over the country.
Wow.
They're sending it to his house, shuttling it down here, and now it's going to the Chamber of Commerce. So if you need something, it's for you. The stuff is for you. You go get it.
Awesome.
Okay.
Right to you.
Thank you guys.
You have no idea what you did.
Yeah.
just to sleep on.
It was donated for me to bring down here to you. So
I just can't even tell you.
Oh, you're welcome.
So much.
When you realized the type of damage that was going to happen here in Sarasota and Inglewood and the southern region of Florida, what prompted you to do something?
Well, there's different types of people in life. Some are nurturing. Some have different qualities of patience. I don't have that. But some people have these different qualities, and people like Matt, myself, and a lot of other veterans are protectors. And when when something like this happens, it's harder to sit on the couch and not do anything and put your sympathy in social media. Some people, that's the way they're wired. It's harder for me to do that than to get up and give blood and sweat and get something done. That's just the way people are. It's not maybe better, or in some situations it might not, the things that I can do might not be the things that are positive. But in this situation, I couldn't just sit on the couch and watch what was going on and get reports. And Matt had his mother's boyfriend was stayed at the farm in Arcadia, and he was, while I was on the road and while we were evacuated, I was talking with him over text, and he was missing. And bet he wasn't the only one that situation was in. And I imagine lots of people be in that situation. And I was just thankful that it wasn't us in that situation. So it wasn't us, so now there was work to be done. And we're not exclusive in this. There's a lot of people that feel that way. Some of them don't know what to do. Some of them might do this if they had somebody next to them that they saw, like Matt, already involved, borrowing a boat, going down in there blind, rescuing people, and him telling me about it. I was like, well, shit, I need to do something now. And that made it easier for me.
I mean, I think it's just the way people are wired, kind of like Ryan's saying. It's, you know, if there's shit going on, some people run, some people are in shock and can't move, and some people go towards the situation. And I'm wired to just get in there, get dirty, and do what I can do to help. Like, I've been that way my whole entire life, and I'm a problem solver. It's like how my brain works, and it's like that's how I'm wired. So it's just there wasn't a moment. My wife's the same way. It was like we didn't even think twice. We just literally got the shit, got in the car. We brought what waters we bought and what snacks and stuff we bought for hurricane supplies with us. And then we ended up giving it all away, and I'm like, fuck, I got nothing to eat. Like, we didn't eat for like 2 days, and I was just drinking what bottled waters that I could find, like, because then we came here in Inglewood, and there's nothing to eat here. I was like, I think I had 2 protein bars in like 2.5 days, and I mean, I was burning 7,000 plus calories a day. I mean, it was like, I think I was a good weight loss program, I can tell you that.
Wouldn't recommend it, but
yeah,
but if you're in that situation, we count on it.
Yeah.
You know, we showed up this morning, and we toured some parts of Inglewood that have been hit really hard. We've talked to a lot of different people. Ryan, what's your takeaway? We've been here all day. What's your takeaway as we finish up our day?
My takeaway is we met with a lot of people, and we met with people that were isolated and just kind of trying to stick by themselves. And this was all those people that we met with that are just staying by themselves in their area, in their trailer or their home, and just kind of trying to do it with them and their wife and the dogs, and not interacting with other people. They didn't seem to be faring too well. There was a lot of anxiety, there was a lot of sadness, there was a lot of hopelessness, and rightfully so. It was terrible. But the people that were getting together in community and the people that were helping each other, it was like a totally different situation. They were, I don't know how to explain it, but they almost seemed like happy that they had community. And I would recommend anybody that can hear this, that's listening to this, or that has the thought, like, let me just deal with this on my own, I wouldn't recommend that at all, because I've seen that just today, like, those people are not in a good place. And the people that have community around them and the people that are helping each other, it wasn't like they were having a good time, but it was like they were hugging, they were sharing stories, they were cooking together, they were eating together, and they were even laughing. Whereas on the other side, those people that were isolated, there was none of that. That's my takeaway for sure.
My thing is, you know, the news is focused on Fort Myers because it's, I guess, would be more drama because of the storm surge plus wind. It's good for ratings. It's like, I'm worried about these small towns that aren't in the, you know, highlight of the news are going to get left behind. Their relief is going to take 10 times as long as somewhere down there. And that's kind of our focus. Like, I just want to make sure that we can take care of these people that don't have the voice like the people in Fort Myers do right now. And I mean, that's I just keep grinding as hard as we possibly can. And you know,
We gave a gas can to this family, and the gentleman looks at Ryan and says, "Who you guys with?" He goes, "Just us, veterans." And the smile on this guy's face was like, "Oh, cool." So can you tell me your name and your service?
Glenn Galway. I was in the 67th ARRS in England in 1969 to 73.
And can you tell me a little bit about how this hurricane has impacted your life?
We lost our lanai, where we usually would sit. Lost over on the left side, that roof is all torn up. And on the main roof, we're 30 sheets short of 4x8 sheets of styrofoam. But the Army Corps of Engineers is supposed to take a picture of it today by satellite, and they're going to come put a tarp on the house for me.
That's good. That's amazing. What kind of damage have you guys sustained?
Most of our roof was gone. We were lucky that in the main part of the house, the secondary roof only had one thing come through it. So with mobile homes, they made them out of chipboard. So when they get wet, the floors turn to mush. So I'm trying to get plywood to put down to replace the mush floors. But it's been crazy.
We've been, my neighbor mostly, but I've been gathering stuff to bring down here over and over and over. He has a trailer and he's bringing it down. We have supplies if you need anything. We have survival kits. So if you need something, the Chamber of Commerce is going to be open and all of our stuff's going to be going there. People are donating from all over the country.
You know, it's been great, really wonderful, the people coming by and drop, do you need water? Do you need, MREs? And a lot of the stuff that we've taken here, people have walked up and said, do you have this, do you have that? We put it back out again.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yep.
People really care.
Yep.
Same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all part of the game with being here. I mean, we just moved here 2 weeks before Charlie hit down in Port Charlotte, and our house wasn't touched. And my wife made trips down to Port Charlotte. We had GPS back then, and she didn't even know the street signs, and just turning left when she was told. And she delivered what from the Red Cross. The hard part is trying to get in touch with FEMA. The hours you spend on the phone on hold. You know, and today was the first day that we could use our phones at our house. Wow. We've been driving, 10 miles away towards Venice to use the phone to call people to tell them we're still alive. stuff like that.
Where is FEMA? Have you seen FEMA?
I talked to a girl this morning, and I lost her, but she's got my telephone number and started the claim. She was in Maryland. But we were looking for them to come by on the other side of that piece there that says FEMA and FPL, help, you know. And we never did have them come by.
Any parting words, any parting shots for people listening?
I mean, just if you're having a bad day, trust me, it can't be worse than what's going on here. So just everybody keep their heads up, and if you can, do your part to help others, and you know, it's hopefully we can help as many people as we possibly can. I mean, driving down here today again was like heartwarming to see the amount of people still heading south to, you know, a lot of them with tractors on the back of their trucks and dump trailers, and hopefully they're doing it for nothing, but people got to make money, you know, but hopefully we can help each other and get through this, because a lot of people, they lost everything. They got nothing left. So
be the individual that does the extra work. Be the individual that other people can see that is doing the extra work. It gets infectious, and if I don't care why you do it. I don't care if you're like Matt, who doesn't need the praise and doesn't want it, doesn't expect it, doesn't do anything for him. Or maybe you are the one that loves the praise and wants the praise. It doesn't matter. Either way, the work's going to get done. If you get a great feeling, which is completely normal, about helping people, and you love when people appreciate you, go do something good for people. The outcome is the same, and it doesn't matter if you wanted the praise or not. At the end of the day, and at the end of your mission, you're going to be helping people, and those people are going to be receiving the help. The help is needed, and you could be one of the people that facilitate that help, and it could be a small amount, and it could just make you feel good for the day. And that's perfectly fine, and that's perfectly acceptable, and we'll take it.
I want to thank Matt and Ryan for all the work they've done for the people affected by Hurricane Ian. I especially want to thank Ryan Hantz for inviting me to come along and helping me capture this story. I wish the absolute best for everyone we talked to, and I look forward to going back down and continuing with these relief efforts. We'll have some pictures of our trip down to Inglewood on our website at stripes.com. Folks, help any way you can. Donate through any charity you want, either goods, money, whatever you're comfortable with. Be part of the effort to help your fellow Americans in need. I can tell you firsthand that the entire area looked like a war zone. These communities, our communities, are damn near leveled, so any and all help is appreciated. Be sure to check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at StripesMMPod. And if you have a tip or story idea, shoot us an email at militarymatters@stripes.com. And don't forget, you can get 50% off your digital subscription to Stars and Stripes today. Just use promo code PODCAST and get 50% off your digital subscription. That's promo code PODCAST. Folks, thank you for listening. I'm Rod Rodriguez, and we'll see you at the next episode. If you're considering a career in software engineering, I recommend checking out Sabio, a coding bootcamp and developer community that's trained veterans since 2013. In just 17 weeks of remote learning, you'll graduate ready to start a real high-paying job. Sabio alumni are working at companies like Google, Amazon, and Microsoft. Sabio can kickstart your career in tech today. Visit sabio.la/military to learn how you can use your VA benefits to enroll. That's sabio.la/military. Check the show notes for the link.